This is VH1's Behind the Music. Tonight we focus on Steel Kitten, the greatest 80s glam metal band you never heard of. The band was formed in 1983 by 5 college students from Prairie State University. Johnny Big Hit Smith lent the band his unique vocals, while a man known only as the Thesaurus melted faces with his electric guitar. The band also featured Sven Svensson, a Swedish exchange student, on the bass, and Johnny's half-sisters, Ella and Daisy LeBlanc, on drums and rhythm guitar. They got their start touring local coffee houses and bars, and eventually landed an agent, Jeff Davidson. Davidson promised them riches beyond their wildest dreams, but only under the condition that they bring in an up-and-coming talent to replace Johnny Big Hit as lead vocalist. Though the band was uneasy about leaving Johnny behind, they felt they couldn't pass on their chance to make it big. In the end, they were able to keep Johnny on, but only as a backup vocalist and percussionist. In an attempt to make the band sound more accessible for mainstream radio listeners, Davidson brought in a young, promising vocalist and keyboardist named Jimmy Ten Fingers Reynolds. The rest, as they say, is history. The band soon had their first taste of fame with their international hit, Poison Dart Frog, which reached number 5 on the Billboard Top 100 chart in the year 1985. All their success worked to smooth out any differences the band may have had, and after a year touring to promote the self-titled debut album, they were eager to get back into the studio and make another platinum record. After 3 months locked in the studio, Steel Kittens came out with their second record, Kittens in Trees. In their sophomore release, they experimented with what Jimmy Ten Fingers called a new glam-tastic sound. While the album enjoyed some critical success, it failed to sell as well as their first offering. It seemed that fans weren't as fond of their new sound as Ten Fingers was. However, the band still proved to be a major attraction on the tour circuit, playing mostly songs from their debut album. For the time being, it seemed, all was still going well. To the world at large, the Steel Kittens seemed just as well adjusted as ever when they went into the studio to record their third album. But the failure of their second album exposed old wounds. Beneath the cheery facade, trouble was brewing. It turned out that Johnny Big Hit had been deeply hurt when Davidson had demanded he be replaced by Jimmy Ten Fingers. But because of the band's success, he had been forced to keep his opinions to himself. But now, with sales on Kittens and Trees plummeting more and more each week, Big Hit began to make his feelings known. As a result of Big Hit's frustrations, he began to experiment with various hallucinogenic drugs. His experimentation soon blossomed into full-blown addiction, and for the next year, Big Hit was rarely, if ever, seen in a sober state. Along with his drug abuse, Big Hit began to develop an attraction for his half-sister Ella, an attraction she did not share. Big Hit's drug abuse not only began to splinter the band apart, but also tore gaping holes in his family life. Soon, Ella refused to talk or even be seen with Big Hit, and the mounting tension between the two drove their sister Daisy into a deep depression. The romantic tryst served only to further tear the band apart. Sven, who harbored a secret love for Ella, was made furious by Big Hit's advances, and on one occasion he went so far as to make an attempt on Big Hit's life during a recording session. The Thesaurus, always the backbone of the group, tried to lighten the mood with his unique brand of off-color humor, but the damage had already been done. In 1987, Jimmy Ten Fingers Reynolds left the band, citing artistic differences. Always the opportunist, it appeared that he simply got tired of the constant infighting, and decided to get while the getting was still good. Soon afterwards, Steel Kittens officially disbanded. The Thesaurus and Sven Svensson left on good terms, and later formed the critically acclaimed jazz fusion band, Timbuk2. However, their sales never lived up to the critics' reviews, and they were haunted by the success of Steel Kittens. At every concert, audience members would shout requests for Poison Dart Frog and other Steel Kittens hits. This so frustrated Sven that he once threw his bass into the audience, striking an elderly man on the chin, causing a deep cut that required 18 stitches. No charges were filed. Ella and Daisy checked Johnny Big Hit into a celebrity rehab center in Northern California, and after 8 months of intensive counseling, they were ready to be a real family again. They moved out to Seattle, where they own and run a family chain of Starbucks. And as for Jimmy Ten Fingers, he went on to become a wildly popular solo act, but he was constantly left wondering what could have been had Steel Kittens stayed together. It seemed Ten Fingers would never get his answer until 2007, when the band's longtime agent, Jeff Davidson, called the band back together, deciding the time was ripe for a reunion tour. It seems that time does heal all wounds, as the band enthusiastically embraced the idea and began planning for a 10-country worldwide tour. Only time will tell if the band will be able to last, but with pre-sales on their concert tickets reaching 5 million already, signs are good that they will continue to make beautiful glamtastic metal for some time to come. And now, ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce to you the one, the only, Steel Kittens.